I got to laugh, like I put this headset on. It's the first I've ever used one of these at a presentation. Normally I can speak loud enough, but it makes me feel like, I don't know, Garth Brooks or something up here. But I do have lots of friends in low places, like Debbie Reeves, Stephen Freeman, but you'll not get a concert out of me today. So anyway, my name is Scott Maston. I work at the ASF now for about a year and a half. I know most of you are used to seeing Dave Sutherland come to these. He's trying to share the load a little bit more on stuff, so I get the honor to come down and speak with you fine folks today. Always love coming west. I live in Pictou, our office is in Truro, but I always love coming west. The forests are so totally different down here than there, the rest of the province. We have these three worlds of the province, kind of Cape Breton East and Central and West. Makes it really interesting when you're doing woodlot management because everything is different. And if you're, Stephen, if you're looking for somebody to get you back on time, you got the wrong guy, I can tell you that. So, all right, so a little bit about what we do. So first of all, just because I always forget to do these at the end, and that's just to thank everybody that's involved. Of course, the department, we've worked with ACOA, the FIT, that's the Forestry Innovation Transition Trust. If anybody's not familiar with it, it was a program brought about after the closure of Northern Pulp to assist. We worked with them. We currently are working with them. Of course, all you fine folks, woodlot owners, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't exist at all. Work with contractors, consultants all the time, and of course the forest industries, the sawmills, everybody who uses fiber in this province. And of course, there's probably lots more there that I haven't mentioned. So a quick thing about what our mandate is we do provide both technical and financial assistance to small private woodlot owners, anybody who owns anywhere between 4 hectares and 20,000 hectares, 10 acres and 50,000 acres of private land in this province. We provide training for forestry professionals, and our board is made up of it's a board of directors that includes both private woodlot owners, forest industry, and the department. So let's get right into the silvicultural assistance that we can provide. This is the range, and I'll show you a few quick slides down the road here of the different treatments. I'm sure many of you have seen them all before. The second part of the talk is going to be talking about biodiversity on your woodlots. We do have this suite of treatments that we can provide, and we get questions all the time. You know, I think a lot of people think that the ASF, we kind of have this pot of money that we can kind of delve out to do kind of whatever. That's unfortunately not the way that it works. We get lots of questions every day. I've gone out and visited with people and say, isn't this great? Isn't this a wonderful thing to do? And it's like, yes, absolutely. I can't help you with that financially because we have a contract to deliver on behalf of the province around silviculture. The technical standards are very clear, and sometimes they just don't fit. Sometimes really good silviculture doesn't fit in the programs that we have to work with. It's just the way it is. So let's run through some of the treatments that we do. Of course, planting, both fill planting and full planting on sites, depending on how much advanced natural regeneration is there on the site. We do what's called early competition control, or manual weeding for lack of a better term, generally in stands that are less than 2 meters tall. Can be in softwood or hardwood. Rarely ever do we get a request for assistance in a hardwood ECC or weeding. And we tend to focus on, because our funding is of course limited in scope, it's not an endless pot by any sense of the imagination. We're trying to focus on areas where trees have been planted to help to make sure that those trees get a good chance to survive and grow. But we will also do natural stands too, but we have to kind of get pre-approval on that just for budgetary reasons more than anything. Pre-commercial thinning or spacing, it's gone by various names over the years. Generally it can be in plantations or natural stands, generally between 2 and 6 meters for softwood or 6 to 9 meters for hardwood. Has always been a really popular treatment here in Nova Scotia because we are blessed. Seriously blessed with lots of good natural regeneration. Not everywhere, but a high percentage of our forests regenerate really well, and this is a great treatment with bang for the buck for sure. Commercial thinning, this again can also help in plantations and natural stands. And down this part of the province, you guys managed to fortunately escape the wrath of Hurricane Post-Tropical Storm Fiona almost 4 years ago now. It's hard to 10 minutes. I'm never getting you guys back on time. Just save your signs, Matt. We'll get through this. a treatment that you know, still has a valid spot, right, for sure. You just have to be very careful about where you select to do it. Of course, selection management, that was talked about, always is talked about, is always a popular thing with small private woodlot owners. There's assistance available for that. Just want to jump now out of the silviculture thing into a couple of programs that we have. I mentioned about post-tropical storm Fiona. So when that happened, there was a program was put in place to assist woodlot owners in the affected area. So the map you see up on the top left-hand side, that was generated by the province. The yellow was their photo interpreted of stands that were damaged through Hurricane Fiona. You can see the concentrations of it, and this map down here is areas that we assisted private woodlot owners with doing cleanup from that, so you can see they match up pretty closely. This is what a whole bunch of it looked like. I mean, like so you folks didn't get a chance to see it down here, but it was, and still is, everywhere. The province, I think that assessment layer came up with around 35,000 hectares that was damaged. That's that yellow layer. We assisted in doing about 14,000. So that tells you how much is still left out there. Now, mind you, there was a bunch of cleanup happened that we didn't assist with, but there's still a ton of it out there. I did put the comment in there too about drones. Really helped us a lot. That's a tool that we use a lot now. And I'm not going to go into drones because Jamie Ring is here from the department and he's going to tell you a whole lot more about drones. So we really had to come up with programs that were tailored to what were the damage conditions, what the forest types were, what the market conditions were like, what the landowner expectations were. So we really had to tweak those into a bunch of different programs. At the end of the day, out of a couple of programs around Fiona, the province spent about $14 million and we covered about 14,000 hectares. Makes for really easy math, right? Spent about $1,000 a hectare on average to clean up some of those sites. Not cheap work at all. So the question then became, well, now what? So the ASF was able to get a program through the department where we're looking at mechanical site preparation, bringing that tool back into the fold again, because as you can imagine on some of those sites, the slash loads were immense. And to think about going in and getting those planted to get any kind of appropriate level of stocking would be nearly impossible. So we have a pilot project that's running, it'll end about a year from now, looking at doing mechanical site preparation in anticipation of planting. Again, currently our funding is completely committed, but we're hopeful that that'll continue on in the future. A couple of pieces of gear. You can see how rusty those are. Yeah, that's how long we went in this province without having mechanical site prep. It's shameful, to be quite frank, but at least we are getting back into it. So that's a disc trencher. Creates a site that looks like this. This was actually an old field white spruce site that got hit by Hurricane Fiona. Had disc trencher done on it. Makes it much more effective for planting, better tree survival. Some people look at it and think it's extremely aggressive. Well, it is. But the point is to try to get these areas restocked again. Another tool, again, really old shark fin barrels and chains, really just meant to tear that slash apart. Make plantable sites, recover more plantable sites. And it looks like this, basically tearing the slash apart. So going forward, we're just trying to take sites that look like that and try to get back here, back into healthy, active growing forests. We also currently have another pilot project on assisting on low-grade products. That is certainly a topic. It's a topic everywhere in the province. It is probably the most limiting forest management issue that we have here is the ability to sell pile that looks like that. So I took that picture from basically a stockyard from one of the people we were working with in the Fiona cleanup program, and I think in that picture I was able to count like about 14 species all in one biomass pile. And that was really to assist in cleaning up some of those Fiona sites. But it's really important because the programs, they help to liberate some of those higher end products that you couldn't possibly get to, like saw logs and stud wood. The program is available province-wide, and again, this is limited. It was a pilot project. We got this money through the FIT program, and every nickel that we have is committed. We put it out there, and within 2 weeks, we had 250% ask of the money that we had to divvy out. So basically what we had to do Paul Gilbert that I work with, Dave Sutherland, myself sat down and was like, okay, how can we piss off as few people as possible? And it was like taking a salt shaker and trying to take all the ice off between Truro and Halifax on the 102. That was what it was like trying to spread that money out. So anyway, we're hopeful, and it was mentioned this morning again about, it was in the provincial budget about assistance for low-grade products going forward, and we are hopeful. I remain to say that it's hopeful because we get asked every day what's going on. The simple answer is we don't know. We haven't got anything yet. So, real quick thing about our auditing and monitoring program. I don't know how many of you folks in here are contractors, but we have really focused down on doing our auditing and monitoring on silviculture programs, just to make sure. The little plug I like to put in on this is that we have to remember is that all the money that we put out that comes to us from the department comes from all of us in this room plus everybody else in this province. I know, Matt, 5 minutes. I'm actually doing way ahead of time from what I would normally be. We all pay for all the money that goes into doing, like say, the supporting. It was brought up this morning about professional help and technical help to do planning for properties, to put in roads, to do silviculture work, to support these low-grade products. Guess what? That all comes from our tax money. So we need to be really cognizant that we're spending that money as effectively as possible and it's being spent in the right places. So we've really ramped up on our auditing and monitoring program. Just an example there, like say where we use drones a lot, we combine drones with standard on-the-ground assessment on sites. This is a little bit about the process that we like to go through now, and this is not a rigid process for the ASF, because a lot of times treatments are pretty straightforward. They fit into the technical standards, and that's good. But what we do ask is that if you get into a situation where things are a little grayer, they're not quite straightforward, please reach out to us or talk to other forest professionals that you deal with, like the Western Woodlot folks or the other groups that are around the province, just to help you with the technical aspects of it, because sometimes there's a lot of nuance in those, and sometimes treatment fit, sometimes they don't, and there's nothing worse than going after the fact and having to tell somebody, geez, you did a great job, I can't pay you, when they're expecting it to meet some kind of treatment criteria. This is really quick about some of the professional training that we do. This is not targeted at woodlot owners. It's really about forest professionals who help with doing planning, operational planning, whether it's at the woodlot level or the crown level or the industrial level. That's something that we do pretty regularly. And now I'll skip to another task when I'm down to, what, 4 minutes, Matt, probably? Perfect, okay. Now, I know there's at least 2 wildlife biologists in here because I saw Sarah's talk, which was great, by the way. I loved it. And I saw Donna Hurlbert here somewhere. There she is right there. Okay. I get terrified when I have to talk about this when there are biologists in the office. Oh, Allie's over there, too. You're a biologist, too, aren't you? Any other biologists in here that are woodlot owners? Oh, yeah, now I'm really scared. Okay. So I'm going to try to talk about this. The thing I like most about Sarah's talk, and it's been talked about now, is just the whole idea about emulating natural disturbances. The fact that habitat varies by stand type. You saw when she was talking about the impacts of wildfire and how it creates different habitats. How many people in here have seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once? Oh, come on, there's more geeks in here than me. Come on. 2 people? Wow. I love the title of that movie because when it comes to that, you can't have everything everywhere all at once. That's just the way it is. On the landscape, you can. But on your private woodlot, on a stand-by-stand basis, you can't have every bit of that in the same place all the time. So sometimes we refer to biodiversity as good and bad. Good and bad are human constructs. When it comes down to the species that are on different sites, they don't care. They just want what is right for them. So that's why it's really important to have this at the landscape level, and you can do your little part at the woodlot level, and this is some of the things that you can do around that. Cavity trees, snags, however you want to refer to them. They create the feeding sites, they're denning sites, they provide legacy into future staying conditions. And this is a really simple structural diversity thing, biodiversity thing that you can have in your woodlot, leaving those in place when you're doing any kind of operations. Another picture of a snag tree. You can see the both feeding and possibly some denning sites in there. I should have put on here, I meant to actually replace one of these slides. I took a picture on my own woodlot of a beautiful big yellow birch that had 2 nice cavity nests on it. And I took a picture of it specifically to put into presentations like this. And it wasn't after I got it home and I realized when I focused straight in on one of the holes, I could see an owl looking out of the hole that I didn't even realize was there when I took the picture. But it just goes to show you, stuff sometimes is on your woodlot that you don't even know until you kind of look around and see what the opportunity is for them to be there. And remember that sometimes snags are also that future coarse woody material, the thing that fall down on the ground, because those can provide these nurse logs, sources of habitat. You can see there's some yellow birch seedlings growing up here. There's all kinds of mosses and lichens and fungi growing around there. It contributes to soil moisture retention. It contributes to recycling nutrients back into the soil. Those are incredibly, incredibly important biodiversity things on your woodlot. So what the uninformed could appear is that this is dirty stuff and could be cleaned up on your woodlot. These are really important biodiversity features that need to be there and need to be maintained on your property. And it's an easy maintenance thing to do. They're there, just leave them there. Vernal pools, not quite so common in this part of the province, but certainly they're scattered around. So these are pools, areas that contain water for only seasonal periods. They're clearly identifiable when they're like this, but they're still pretty identifiable when they look like this, when they dry out later in the summer. When you see these big open, tend to be covered by grasses and forbs, that kind of stuff. They're pretty obvious. Those are high biodiversity hotspots. So they're really important to maintain those and protect them on your properties. Things like beaver ponds, they provide direct habitat, they provide structural diversity, which increases species diversity, helps with water control and retention. It's another one of those nice structural things on the woodlot. Like I'm a complete forest ecology geek, freely admit that, and I love structure. Biodiversity is about structure. The more diverse the structure on your woodlot can be, the more opportunity there is for biodiversity on your property. And this is one of these structural things. Dens and caves, of course, they're protected by legislation. You can't actually disturb an active den area or any kind of nest when it's in season. And if you have doubts on that, talk to a forest professional. There's tons of us around this province. I personally have dealt with woodlot owners most of my career. Love dealing with it because you guys are like snowflakes, and I say that not in a derogatory sense, but in a good sense, because every one of you is different. You have slightly different philosophy, slightly different ways you want to do things, which are all perfectly valid. So the role of the forest professional is to help take what you want to do, look at what you have, and try to figure out how you get down working towards those goals and objectives. This is our crew. Of course, Dave Sutherland is our coordinator, Paul Gilbert, Ben Henniger, Ed McLean, myself. Ed, I think probably a lot of you know he's been around the ASF not quite as long as Dave, but near on. He's going to retire, so he says, in June, but he's been threatening that for a while, so we'll see. He said that last year, exactly, did he? So he's still saying June, but we'll see. Anyway, that's it. Any quick questions? I know I'm probably out of time, but quick questions?